allow people to get in. Admit all. So, welcome to another Hub Talk. Thank you for joining us today. We will be continuing the conversation about BIM, Building Information Modeling. Our guests today are Oriol Vidal and Sara Fernandez from Modelical. This will be an interactive session, and everyone is invited to comment or ask questions throughout the talk by writing in the chat or raising hands to speak. Our topic today is about digitalization and sustainability as the two pillars of economic recovery in a post-pandemic context. Investment in sustainable and digital initiatives is an accelerator of BIM methodology in public and private spheres. Let's talk about the role of architecture in this. So before starting, let me introduce our valuable guests today. We have our friend Oriol Vidal. Oriol Vidal has 15 years of experience in as a civil engineer in a wide range of projects such as airports, highways, and buildings. He started in construction company to change after 8 years. He started after 8 years to be consulting and construction management. Oriol currently works at Modelical as a partner of the digitalization of companies in the AEC sector and the implementation of BIM. Oriol will also be moderating the session today. We have also Sara Fernandez, first time with us. Welcome, Sara. Sara is an architect with a master in structural and construction engineering. Sara has been involved in large BIM projects from airports, stadiums, and office buildings to corporate BIM implementations. She has a background in circular economy applied to industrialized construction, and she's specialized in improving the sustainability of the built environment by means of data technology. Oriol, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Slim. What a presentation, Slim. I would love to meet Oriol, Mr. Oriol, that guy that does all those things, but just halfway everything, no? Thank you very much again, and thank you very much for the Architects Hub. I would like to just say hi to Omima, to Eduardo, to Abdullah as well, for always sharing some time with us and generating this place to discuss about digitalization, about architecture, about BIM. We find these very interesting topics. Today, I would like to talk or to manage this little talk about digitalization and about BIM implementation, just as a preview, as a small trailer of what's going to be next, or what's going to happen in a couple of weeks at Doha between the 15th and 16th November, the Qatar BIM sessions. In 2 weeks, we are going to be discussing about BIM, and today, just as a little trailer, as a little tease, I would like to introduce the items of sustainability and digitalization as the tools, the drivers of that BIM implementation, or accelerators of that BIM implementation. I haven't studied very much the topic because it's something that somehow I have to face it every day, day in, day out. It's every day that people come to Modelical. We are a BIM consultancy. People come to Modelical asking if we can help them because of this or that opportunity in which the government is asking for BIM on different contracts or different constructions, projects, whatever. What is happening now in Spain is that the government agencies, like in what in Qatar would be Ashghal, they are really putting speed. They are really speeding up the implementation of BIM and digital technologies. The government is now asking every project to be developed with BIM. And I don't know if you are familiar to the recovery funds. Recovery funds are something that in the European Union, some funds of money that the European Union are sending to the different countries in order to recover from the pandemic situation. Well, the important thing is that now currently the drivers to get that recovery funds are to do digital and sustainable projects. So if countries do not foster, do not encourage the digital and sustainable projects, they won't be eligible to get the recovery funds or to be financed by the recovery funds. Okay, so by digital, all the projects that are being developed in Spain, they are what they call digital, native digital. So they have to be digital from the beginning. Okay, so the projects itself has to be digital from the beginning. That's in Spain. And what that means is that just from the beginning, we have to digitalize our environment, our built environment. And the digitalization of the BIM environment is what we know as BIM, the Building Information Modeling. Somehow, I would like to, in this brief introduction, very brief introduction, I would like to set my opinion of the differences between digitalization and BIM. So after we can discuss about them. Afterwards, I will give over the presentation or the talk to Sara to discuss certain concepts of sustainability related to that digitalization of the BIM environment. So let's start with digitalization. To me, digitalization means to be able to compute the data that we have in every certain sector. When we are talking about the digitalization of the business, we are thinking on systems like ERPs or CRMs, which are software that help us with the accountability of our company, or that help us with our customer database. In other words, we are generating databases that the computer can work with. So digitalization would be in a broad way, digitalization would be in a broad way generating databases with which the computers can operate and help us on dealing with data to obtain information. Okay, so BIM is a way to generate databases of our BIM, our built environment. When we are thinking of a BIM model is just a database, can be reduced to a database of the built environment. And when we have very nice. I'm reading the messages, and very nice point from Eduardo, who's mentioned that not only Ashghal, but very different agencies or ministries from Qatar government are encouraging those BIM models or those digitalizations. So I was saying that when we have a digital model, a digital database of our built environment, what we have to do is to connect that database with the other sets of databases. For example, when we have a bill of quantities or we have a database of different prices of a project, of a given project, if we link those prices database with our BIM model, then we get an automated bill of quantities. We can perform the quantity takeoff, and from the quantity takeoff, we get the bill of quantities. Okay, so if we link our BIM model, which is a database, with a classification system, which is another database, we can get a quantity takeoff, an automated quantity takeoff. If we are thinking of a computer-aided facility management software, CAFM, that's a database. That's the database to manage our facility management. Okay, so if we link our BIM model, which is a database, with the CAFM software, which is another database, we are digitalizing and linking, putting together the building with the CAFM system for the operation and exploitation stage of our building, of our stage. Strong, yeah, I'm talking about a strong ERP like SAP or Sage. Yes, a couple of well, that's an answer to so I will be very bad with the names. I beg your pardon. I will do my best. That's all I can promise. Suhail is asking if we are talking about an ERP like SAP. Yes, I'm talking about those kinds of ERPs. A couple of years ago, we started connecting those kind of softwares, and nowadays it's more and more that our clients, our customers are asking us to connect these kind of softwares with the BIM models. And the reason is that nowadays, or currently, it's more and more, it happens more and more that the end customer is asking for BIM. And when the end customer is asking for BIM, he is not focusing on the project. He's focusing on the operation and exploitation stage of the building. And that is the longest stage. And operation and exploitation has to do with ERPs and with CAFM systems, among others. But as I promised, you can link, as I was saying, you can link the BIM models with different databases, and among them, each connection with a database, each connection between BIM model and a database is something related to a BIM use. BIM uses. BIM uses are the connections, the different connections, different applications of the BIM model to an external database. And I would like to introduce you to Sara, who is an expert, is becoming an expert of connecting the BIM models to the sustainable or environment assessment. How projects are behaving from the side of the environment or the sustainability. So go ahead, Sara.
Yes, the truth is that historical certifications that we all are familiar with, like BRIAM or LEED or DGNB, the truth is that up to now they have developed with little connection to data technology. They have based themselves in analogic formats, in analogic ways of recording information. But the truth is that today the European Union is becoming aware of the need of digitalizing all that, because with analogic formats we lose the ability to compare information and to measure information in a consistent way. So that's the reason why from the European Commission they are incentivizing a lot the the marriage, let's say it that way, the marriage between digitalization and sustainability. The truth is that developments are being drafted like recently. I mean, there are no very advanced developments on this field. Few certifications have been deeply digitalized at this point. So we are on a stage in which we are studying the potential of connecting those fields. Okay, so at this point, the main need or the main work that we are facing is to solve the problem of the traceability of the data. I don't know if traceability is the word, but I'm referring to the ability to hold all information in one place that we can compare and that we can evaluate and that we can measure. Because in order to assess the sustainability of an asset, of a practice or an organization, in order to assess its sustainability, the key tool that you need is something that allows you to compare data. So right now we are at this point. I mean, we have from one side historical certifications like BREEAM LEED, which are first generation certificates, and we have second generation certificates which involve a more close relationship to digitalization, mainly because they involved energetic simulation of the asset, and that requires computing like very complex operations of data. So that's the point in which we are now. We are starting this marriage.
in a straight line, we have the first generation sustainable or environment certificates, which would be the BREEAM, right?
And LEED.
LEED certificate. Then we have the second generation of green certificates, which is the green certificate would be one of that.
Like Ithaca in Italy, in Verde in Spain. There are many of second generation.
And the feature of the second generation is that they must include an energetic analysis or an energy simulation of the building. So, and that's where the BIM gets in.
Exactly.
So if you need to run a simulation of the building and you already have a digital, let's call it digital twin of the building,
or even a model from the project,
the model,
you can face that task.
Then how can I use the model to perform some simulation that helps me to fulfill a checklist? So at the end, we need a checklist. Well, we need a checklist to be fulfilled and to see if we are eligible to that certification or not, and how to automate the fulfillment of that checklist after a simulation on a building. That's what Sara somehow is
developing,
working with. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know if there are any comments. No. No. Just in the Middle East, but this is going to be the phase 1, no simulation required. Yes. The truth is that I don't know if you guys are familiar with the European framework levels. Just to put you into a bit of context, before second generation certificates popped into the scene, there was no consensus in the terminology between agents involved. Okay, so this means that, for example, academia was developing some research and using some terms, some vocabulary that has one meaning, which was different from the understanding of private entities or policymakers. Okay, so that lack of consensus made it very hard for us to unify efforts toward the sustainability of the built environment. Okay, so levels in Europe is like a framework that explains the meaning of each concept and explains how to compute it. So, at least in Europe, all second generation certificates are being drafted in those terms. So levels is like a dictionary, you know? So when we say, for example, energy intensity, which is the amount of energy divided by the cost, well, there's a consensus between stakeholders about how to compute it, the meaning, the influence, okay? So we are in a point in which we are starting to set those ground rules that will enable us to measure progress towards sustainability. And data technology has a key role because it allows us to produce that information and to manage it.
Okay, so after this introduction that maybe hasn't been as brief as all of you would like, but after this introduction, we want to have an open discussion about these topics, and Marcia, if I pronounce that well, is willing to participate and to speak if possible, and to me it's absolutely possible. So Marcia, if you want to share your thoughts with us, I will have the last word on everything, but
yes,
please,
no worries. Thank you so much, everyone, Oriol and Sara from Spain, and thank you, Architects Hub, for organizing this. I think it's a very crucial, important topic that needs to be brought up now, especially the post-COVID era, and at the same time approaching toward 2022. So you have three timelines, in my opinion. You have the pre-COVID, and then you have COVID, and then you have post-COVID, and we have additional timeline, which is the 2022. Now, just a bit background about me. I graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University in Qatar, and my bachelor's was in interior design. And then I took my master's in library information studies, and my specialty is data records and data management. So you brought an interesting connection. See how I'm trying to connect these two disciplines, because you've mentioned we did learn BIM in our undergrad, but we barely implement them back then. I'm talking about back then. I know now it's a requirement full speed ahead. So I had this thought that of connecting data sets together in order to make procurement efficient as possible. So now I'm trying to work on an article. I wish also other Architect Hub's member can chip in as well. I'm trying to create this article and potentially a long research where I'm trying to understand and detect trends of these prices throughout the 4 timelines I've told you about. So I've witnessed something while I was working, that the price of wood, we're using wood as a case study because that's the easiest to track. Obviously, you can include other, but we're using wood for now. So I've noticed that we've also noticed, a lot of my friends as well, that the price skyrocketed during September, post-COVID, approaching 2022. So there's that weird, awkward phase where people are figuring out how to either save up their materials or how to procure the materials from around the world. And don't forget, we also have other factors, including the supply chain disruption that was happening during COVID, and also now because of, again, it's still post-COVID. And there's a lot of factors that I've been reading about as well that kind of begs the question, how can we move on from here? Like like I'm trying to piece the puzzle and trying to streamline our next step for this. And I felt like BIM is a good point of reference to start, because what BIM does, as you said, that it sort of predicts for you. As kind of like when you're designing on BIM, it predicts the bill of quantity for you, so you don't have to wait the next step and then order the materials, because the traditional method of working is linear. You design, you don't speak to anyone, and then you meet the contractor, and then the contractor meets so and so. It becomes like a long chain of communication instead of side by side. So BIM provides that ability to speak in alignment at the same time, like speak in parallel. Would you say? No, I mean, there's no specific question here because I'm just putting out the multiple factors that's affecting Qatar right now, and especially within those timeframes that I've mentioned. I think I require more experience and expertise from other people from other entities as well. I know there are people from MME here and people who are Musharib, and people from the private sector in Qatar within the building materials procurement expertise.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marcia. That's a very interesting thing because I think that it is related with the expectations that we put on BIM. What we are doing when dealing with BIM is to create a database that it's linked to other databases. I know that I'm repeating myself, but that's the main point of the BIM methodology. As long as your information and your data is consistent, you will be operating under the BIM methodology, not only technology, but methodology. So what you need is consistent data. So if you want to do that forecast, not only for economy, but also for quantity takeoff or bill of quantities, but also to manage your stock management or procurement, which is something that I think that's what Marcia was putting into the conversation. If you want to do that, you need consistency on your data. And not only that, now comes the part of the expectation. Sometimes with projects and at job site, not only at the project stage, but also in the job site stage, in the construction stage, there are changes. Architects change things. The end client makes changes, introduces changes. Any stakeholder introduces changes. And that happens with and without BIM. The only thing that we can do with BIM is to ease the pain of incorporating that or putting that changes, factoring in that changes into the project. So if there is a procurement disruption or a provider's disruption, if things cannot get into my country, it won't be able to get thanks to BIM. BIM cannot help on that. What we can do with BIM is to in a very agile way to replan, reschedule our work in order to incorporate that change and try to figure out different situations and how to solve it better. But if the ship cannot come, the ship will not come. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. What do you think, Marcia? Am I addressing the topic that you wanted to or not?
I think you brought in, again, like you said, expectations. I think it goes back to just monitoring your stock at this point. I think that's what BIM does. I think you haven't pointed out the communication aspect. Like, for example, if I were to be working, I as an architect be working on this, do you think other stakeholders can contribute in the process? And then it affects the bill of quantity or whatever the data set is being produced at the end. I think that also involves the human factor. Like, do we have the necessary human resources to speak in BIM? Like, for example, you and I may speak in BIM. That makes our workflow a lot smoother. But other people might not be able to. So you have all your products printed and ready to deliver to the stakeholder, and then changes here and there. But then at the same time, the bill of quantity can calculate itself. You get my point? So I can see where you're saying that it can ease the pain. in a smaller scale. But I think, yeah, I may have been trying to solve too many things at once.
Yeah, to me, well, Sarah, I don't know if you can add anything.
No, the only thing that popped into my mind when you talk, Marcia, about obtaining the bill of quantities from BIM, the truth is that Oriol addressed wonderfully the issue of the expectations, because the truth is that when you make a model of your building, you can measure the things that you model, and that means that what you don't model, you don't measure, and you don't necessarily model all.
That's correct. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so because we have dealt with that many times, like a client comes and says, okay, so I want a very accurate bill of quantities. I want 90% of the BOQ to be obtained from the model. And we are like, okay, hold on, because maybe it doesn't make sense to model it all. So I just want to point that out, because when I heard the connection between them, I mean, it's important.
No, that's very true, because we have small bits and pieces that may not be possible by BIM to. I mean, not only you don't want to model it, it's a waste of time, but it's just that some niche items or customized items that the country may need may not be in the library. So that's also another component to consider.
Yeah, I would like to thank you very much, because that brings me the topic of the BIM strategy. I don't know if you guys find that everybody's talking about the BIM managers, but people are using BIM managers as if they were BIM coordinators or BIM modelers, but they, the stakeholders, do not let BIM managers to manage. So in order for BIM managers to manage, they have to set the strategy of okay, how do you want to model this? What do you want to be modeled? How do you want to do the quantity takeoff of the modeled elements? And how do you want to do the quantity takeoff of the non-modeled elements? Because I can do that. So I can do some quantity takeoff of elements that are not modeled, but you have to accept my strategy. I will put an example. If I'm thinking of reinforced concrete, I can model the columns, or I can model the floors, the slabs. I can model the beams, the concrete beams, and I can put as a parameter the ratio between the weight of the rebar, let's say 100 kilogram per cubic meter, and with that ratio, I can get the quantity takeoff of the rebar without having to model the rebar. And that's a strategy. That's the BIM manager job, to meet the requirements of all the stakeholders with regards to the BIM models, to meet the requirements with some modeling and information strategy. That's the BIM model, the BIM manager job. Then there is the job of the BIM coordinator, who has to take care that the models are performed according to the requirements, and then that's the job of the BIM modelers, to produce the BIM models. Okay, but at this point we are just at the half, more or less, of the conversation. I would like to encourage the rest of the people here to participate, or to talk, or to write in the chat. Everybody is welcome. So otherwise we'll keep talking about this, no? About digitalization, sustainability, things like that.
I have another question. Sorry if I didn't pick that up.
No worries.
Go on.
How is digitalization relates to sustainability? Why did you put those two together?
Yeah, that's not a choice that we did, actually, but I go back to the beginning when I mentioned that the European Union, and I think that it's something worldwide. We are talking, we are sorry because we know that we are in a Qatar environment, so referring all the time to European may sound a little unpolite. Please apologize for that, but that's the environment that we know most. So in the European Union, they say that they send you recovery funds. You are eligible to get money from the recovery funds if your projects are digital and they are sustainable.
Okay, so it's more incentives rather than trying to combine them together. I thought there's some plan on trying to mix them together. Like, for example, like I'm assuming if you digitalize the BIM thing, if you can not accurately find the bill of quantity, but at least have it correctly measured, and then you won't be wasting your resources, something like that. I don't know.
The point is that at the beginning, they were separate things. So the trends or the drivers from the European Union are digitalization and sustainability. But then it comes, if sustainability is becoming so much important and projects are being digitalized, then how can I assess sustainability on a set of digitalized projects?
That makes sense. Yeah, basically you're saying that you have hard data to show you if a project fits with a set of criteria or a rubric that you guys have.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
And then companies such as the Green Building Council, in their different chapters, if they are to assess if a project is sustainable or not, and the project is already digitalized, then the next question is, how can I make a sustainability assessment from a digitalized project? So how can I digitalize the sustainability assessment? That's one point. That's what Sara is working on, but just one of the points. Another one is, how can I manage the sustainability, let's say, sustainability tools of a project? How can I manage them digitally?
The truth is that I know that from the outside, they seem to be like very different topics, right? Like digitalization and sustainability. But the truth is that the main drivers that have led us to the use of BIM technology are the same drivers that sustainability care about, in the sense that when you use BIM, you use it because you are expecting an output out of it. You're expecting to be more efficient. You're expecting to be more cheap. You're expecting to be better organized. So actually, those criteria are the ones that sustainability studies. So when you say, okay, we all know that sustainability has 3 pillars, right? Like environment, economy, society. Okay, so BIM mainly came into the scene because it was a way of avoiding the overcost of projects.
That's correct. This is our issue here.
So even if they are seen like years ago, they were like non-related. The truth is that the same drivers that have led us to using data technology are the ones that sustainability care about. So
totally. No, I'm glad. No, I'm really glad you brought that up. Sorry, one last question before someone chips in. The 3 pillars, what are they again? Government, society, and economy. I really like them. Where are they from? Which policy is this from?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
The 3 pillars that you've mentioned, I really like them. They're governments. You said government, society, and economy. No, which policies are they?
Environment.
Environment. Environment. Do you know what's the? Where's the? Sorry, where's the policy from? If I can read it in detail.
The party, you mean the reference to read about them?
Yeah, well, policy or whatever.
The policy, yeah.
Ah, okay. The truth is that I would make a reference to the Green Building Council definition. No, wait. The truth is that after the Second World War, I don't want to get very historical now, but
It's my favorite topic.
Yeah, after the Second World War, it was signed the Kyoto Protocol, and sustainability was first defined in there. But let me look for it because I have the reference. But yes, when you if you want to get deep on the official definition, yes.
It's just more of the reference, like where is this policy from? Because I follow a few policies here and there, and they're overlapping, but I need like a name for it.
I'm not sure I'm understanding the party.
The policy.
The policy.
The policy.
Or guideline or.
Yeah. I know Sara has got that because she already wrote an article on that. So you can.
What's the name of the article?
That's it. That's what I was going to ask Sara.
Well, you can look at the webpage of Modelical. I don't want to get publicity into here, but let me look at it. We can send it to you.
You can put on the chat, Sara. Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. We try not to make publicity or to use these talks to talk about Modelical, right? Yes. So because we don't want to spam you about Modelical things, but she wrote that on our webpage. You can take a look at that. And Sara will write it in the chat so you can get it.
Here it goes.
That's it. So I think that there you can find Marcia some reference on that. And Sara, if you want, you can put your email just in case that Marcia on LinkedIn. You can connect on LinkedIn, wherever. If you can send her some more references
or my mail if you want
on that. What else? Well, there is another one. This Laxminara. This is a very difficult one. I beg your pardon, Mr. or Mrs. Laxminara. Whatever. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. He's asking, or she is asking, to explain a little bit more of 3D, 4D, 5D, and 6D. Okay.
I have.
Maybe is asking us to share our references, of course. You can find me there. Well, as I said, every use is an application to another database. We can think of BIM users as application to different databases. When we are talking about 3D, it's the 3 dimensions. When we are talking about 4D, we are introducing the time as a 4th dimension. But what we are doing is to link a 3D model with a schedule, with a planification that we can do with Microsoft Project or Primavera or whatever. So we are linking our building database to the time schedule database, which is done with Project or Primavera. That's the 4D. Then we have the 5D, which is linking our built environment database, the BIM model, with the quantity takeoff classification system or coding or price database. Then we get the final quantity takeoff or the bill of quantities. That's the 5D. What's the 6D? I cannot remember now, Sara. Which one is it?
5D is cost. Okay, it's so 4D construction planning, 5D cost, and 6D information for energy analysis. 5D cost.
Okay, so 6D is the one from Sara.
Here.
yeah. The one that Sara is mentioning.
And 7D?
7D is my floor. That's where I live, at the 7D. No, sorry, Eduardo. No. It's maintenance, I know that they are like growing,
Yes,
and
yes, you're
people
right.
are talking about
Facility
maintenance,
management,
Facility
absolutely.
management, yes.
facility
Exactly.
management, and then there is the health and safety, another
Yeah.
one. But if you think of facility management, it's again the connection between the BIM database with another database, a different database. Ah, Suhail is giving some light to the conversation, and he's mentioning at the chat that 8D is safety and 9D comfort.
This is the first time that I've heard about the comfort one. I mean, I was, this is changing constantly, and
Yeah.
nobody knows what is happening after the 8th one. Nobody knows what is happening, and it's changing every day.
I used to be a job site manager, so I stop at the 5D. You know, I stop at the money, the quantity takeoff.
Exactly.
The truth is
It
that
depends on, yeah, the system. I'm sorry, please.
6D, I mean, sometimes we get confused between concepts because, of course, energy analysis is associated with sustainability. But the truth is that sustainability is much more than energy analysis, okay? And 6D refers to energy analysis, okay? I just wanted to point that out. Because it's information useful for energy simulation. And sustainability involves, as we have said, social aspects, economical aspects, much more things.
Maybe it's worth talking a little bit more of sustainability, Sara, because you mentioned those 3 pillars, and also Marcia, sorry, was interested on the policy or on the references for that. So can you bring us on what sustainability analysis or sustainability assessment involves?
Absolutely. Okay, so as we have said, there are 3 pillars, okay? Environment, society, and economy. The truth is that when it comes to environment, we are all pretty conscious about what it involves, okay? We are aware that it's our duty to contaminate as less as possible, better if we avoid it. We know that we should use efficiently the resources, okay? We should use efficiently energy, like electric energy, climatization, water, blah, blah, blah. So when it comes to environment, we are all familiar with that. But the 2 other pillars are usually disconnected from sustainability in the general mindset, because we don't think about society itself as something that we should care about, but the truth is that it is. When it comes, for example, to accessibility, okay, when it comes to quality of life, when it comes to avoiding mental illnesses, okay, so
the well-being, no?
The well-being, yes. Especially after the pandemic, we have all become aware of the influence that our surrounding has on our health, okay? So part of the sustainability task duty is to care about the well-being of people, okay? In order for you to put a bit of context, this was developed after the Second World War. So imagine like devastated Europe, houses with very bad conditions, very bad qualities. So up to that point, all the discussion on sustainability was focused on environment. But after that point, it was like a common thought that said, okay, so it's time now to include the well-being of society into the equation, okay? And that's the second one. Certificates, like for example, Verde certificate cares a lot about that one. It cares, for example, when you build a housing block, okay? It cares, it's better for you to have a public transport stop, metro station close to your house, because that way your life would be more easy, okay? So those are the things that sustainability care about. And from the economic point of view, we are all familiar with it. I mean, at the end, we all want to pay to be efficient using money. We're not talking about spending less. We are talking about spending efficiently. And that maybe is the field that has been from our knowledge since many years ago. Okay, and also another useful thing in this is the fact that when it comes to reducing the cost, at least in the construction industry, it's very important to be able to reuse the materials that you brought. Okay, like in another sectors like the, I don't know, computers or cars, it's easy at the end of the life cycle of the asset, it's easy to dismantle it and to transform your asset into a library of things that you can sell. So actually you get a retrofit out of that. But in the construction industry, it's more difficult because buildings are not usually designed to be dismantled. Okay, so it's more difficult for us at the end of the life cycle to get a retrofit out of that. So in order to be able to do that, industrialized construction has a lot to say because it allows you to reuse the pieces of your asset at the end of its life cycle. And that has a lot to do with the economic pillar of sustainability. Okay, because if you build with the idea of at the end, I'm going to have a bank of assets that I can sell because I have prefabricated them, they are normalized, I can use them somewhere else, like Lego pieces, then you can get a retrofit out of that. Okay, so
nice, interesting sense, context on. Yeah, go ahead, Eduardo. Sorry.
Yes, I would like to highlight something that it's very important on what Sara has mentioned right now, and is, let's say, grounding some of the concepts that she has explained. There is something very useful for Qatar reality, and in these Middle East countries we have this, let's say, national vision strategy. So in case of Qatar, of course, it's Qatar National Vision 2030. And they have mentioned or developed the Qatar National Vision document on a, let's say, same structure, but it has been divided not into three elements, but they call it the 4 pillars. And the 4 pillars, as you mentioned, Sara, before, then we have the environmental on one side, then we have the economic on the other side, and then the culture has been divided here into social and human. So these are the 4 pillars that the full document is based on. But it gives you an idea on how the structure of the plan of the place has been set. Saying this, I would like. I'm not a BIM specialist, but I have seen some of the questions on the chat. I call myself. I mean, I really love and enjoy all the BIM discussion. But I feel very ignorant on it because that goes at an incredible speed, and it gives me vertigo every time that I have a word with Oriol or with you guys. But it's the way that the workflow is happening right now. Marcia was asking if there are any entities right now working with BIM here in Qatar. Marcia, it's a good question because Modelical has developed a lot of several projects for different entities here in Qatar at a different level that can be treated as BIM. But apart from that, on the conversatory that we are going to have on the event, the BIM event that the Architect Hub is organizing on November, there are, let's say, some speakers from major entities that are going to be explaining from their side how is this BIM coordination managed internally. I do know that, for example, Qatar Rail used to develop some of the projects for the metro lines in BIM. I don't know how detached is this from the operation. I know that the model was created in order to facilitate the exploitation of the full assets. That was done. Well, there were several players on these metro projects, but it'll be good to check if they are really doing the exploitation of the BIM models they have for facility management or asset management purpose. On the other hand, we have the stadiums, and Modelical has participated on some of the stadiums. We have some construction projects and some construction clusters in the city, like Lusail, for example, that even if it is not fully developed in BIM, and it has some, let's say, important things to highlight here, and is we call it initially a BIM or done in BIM methodology, but this, not even in Spain, it's working on a perfect system. So construction companies, for example, to involve them onto or to transform their process fully in BIM is something that even in Spain, that they are on a, let's say, a very much advanced stage compared to the Middle East. Oriol and Sara, you can confirm if this is right, but it's very hard to convert all the processes of a construction company for them to be fully operating with BIM. And there are, let's say, different chapters, not only on the construction, but also on the operation and the facility management, and so it's very complex. It's not it's not something that technology, as Oriol already explained before, that technology will sort out. So we are not talking about technology, we are talking about methodology. But it's a very important question, because I know that sooner or later in Qatar we will have to start thinking, even if we are not going to have our, let's say, main purpose will not be to get benefits from the government entities, like it might happen in Europe, or when we were talking about certifications, then maybe the LEED certificate that states used to represent some taxes, benefits, or something like that. But even though we cannot forget that let's say, this sustainability component of the projects should be there. I mean, and the way we are trying to explain this, let's say, adoption or early adoption on digital models, it's going to facilitate that. But it's going to be a very interesting topic to discuss next month on the panel discussion that we are going to have, and on all the presentations that we will be hosting on the Hubs event. So yeah, it's a very, very, very good question, Marcio.
Yeah, I confirm what Eduardo was saying. There are always exceptions, but the most common thing is that people are working with Revit. It's easy, let's say easy. It's easy to work with Revit, but it's not that common to work under BIM methodology, and it's not the same thing. So we are getting to it, but not yet. Although there are certain companies, certain contractors that are making big efforts to digitalize their methods. To end with, I wouldn't like to end without trying to address some or to answer the questions by Suhail. He was asking about the 5D and some examples. Maybe I was misleading before. The 4D would be the linking BIM with a timeline, a schedule, and maybe to put your cost into a schedule as well. The quantity takeoff and bill of quantities from the 5D, he was asking if we use OmniClass or Uniclass. It depends. It depends of the detail of the quantity takeoff that you want. We used to work, or we work with Dynamo to extract all the data from the models and operate that data in Excel files. Sometimes we do that, Excel spreadsheets. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we work with the schedules in the models, schedules in Revit. It depends. It depends on what? It depends on the user. You will find that the user will be the end user, or the one managing that data will be the one that will put the
codification.
yeah, the point or the use on doing one way or another. Every way that you do it, if it is consistent, if it's aligned with consistency, and it's aligned with keeping one source of information, it will be good, as long as it's easy for the end user to take a look at it. Okay.
The truth is that it's not that common to find the same classification system in the bill of quantities, right, Oriol? Like omniclass, uniclass, it's not that common to find a bill of quantities organized according to those categories.
Because at the end you will use the classification that fits the structure for your bill of quantities. So maybe you don't use either omniclass or uniclass, and you use another one just to be able to extract or to take out the quantities in the same structure as your bill of quantities. But I don't want to delay this too much. Just as I said at the beginning, this is a teaser, just a trailer for you to engage on the BIM sessions, BIM Qatar days in 15th and 16th of November. I hope to see you there. I hope to meet you, all of you there. And I want to end thanking again the Architects Hub for encouraging these kind of sessions as for today. And thanking you, all the assistants, all the attendants of this session. Again, thank you very much for attending this session and for spending some time with Sara and with me.
Thanks a lot for Sara and Oriol. It was great conversation. We hope to continue this conversation in Qatar next 15 and 16 November. It will be a great event. I think today it's like a thriller for the event. I want to thank also all the attendees. Thanks for the question in the chat, and hope to see you soon in Qatar. Thanks again. Good night.
Good night. Goodbye.
Good night. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.